And welcome to another episode of the Spurs Up Show. This is episode 5. I am Chris Phillips, along with my colleague Tyler Clark, and we are with the Armchair All-Americans. Again, this is the Spurs Up Show. You can follow the show and its happenings, and also the Armchair South Carolina account on social media, mainly Twitter at ArmchairSCar. So that's going to be Armchair SCAR. You can follow myself on Twitter and social media accounts at CPhilly19. And that's going to be CPHILLY19. And then my colleague Tyler as well, at Casper McLovin. And also please go to armchairallamericans.com for all of your coverage there. You can find the show there, obviously any South Carolina coverage, media, things of that nature. Again, that's going to be armchairallamericans.com. I'm joined today, again, as always, by Tyler Clark. Tyler, how you been, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing well. Just coming back, obviously, from that long 4-day weekend, Memorial Day and everything, kind of getting back in the swing of things. But feeling pretty good. I mean, I can't really complain. So not too hungover today. But jumping right back into it, as far as we had talked a lot about the SEC baseball tournament last week, which concluded on Sunday. Obviously, South Carolina had a little bit of a play in that, made a run to Saturday, going over the games just a little bit briefly here. South Carolina opened up on Tuesday with Vanderbilt, who they had beat 7-4. Vandy was actually my sleeper for the tournament, so I did a good job in jinxing them. South Carolina gets the dub on day 1 against Vandy 7-4. Then on day 2, suffer a tough loss to a pretty good Kentucky team that's actually going to be hosting a regional in the postseason now. And from Tuesday, they had moved into the double elimination Wednesday, so it didn't knock them out. They lose to Kentucky 7-2 on Wednesday. Thursday, South Carolina absolutely rolls through Missouri 10-2 in a hitting frenzy there, which set up a rematch with Kentucky on Friday, which turned out to be one of the best games of the week, if not maybe the best game of the tournament, when South Carolina's T.J. Hopkins hits a 3-run homer late in that ball game to give South Carolina the 3-1 win to move them to a Saturday matchup with the LSU Tigers, who were and are red hot going into the postseason. LSU disposed of South Carolina pretty easily. 11-0 was the final in that one, in a game where it seemed South Carolina just kind of ran out of pitching. So, Tyler, with all that being said, taking a look back at last week, South Carolina's performance in Hoover, what did you think overall, kind of their performance, and what did you take away from the week?
It looked like a completely different team to me. It looked a lot better. It looked like they wanted to be there. They played hard. They played well, too. Like you said, they just kind of ran out of steam on Saturday, and they were SOL. The loss of Clark Schmidt kind of really, really hurts you in a tournament where you're playing every day and you just run out of pitching.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, any tournament like this, whether it be a conference tournament, whether it be, any postseason tournament like will be happening this weekend, it's going to be all about pitching depth. And I mean, I think South Carolina, while they have some of that in the bullpen, losing Clark Schmidt obviously, hurts you tremendously. They definitely ran out of pitching depth. I mean, obviously, I think the entire second half of the season, they could have used Clark Schmidt in plenty of those ball games as well. So, I mean, I was – like I said, I was fairly pleased. I mean, I know that we had both talked, and I think we both took an under in how many games South Carolina when we said 1.5. I think we both said the under on that. Yep. So, I mean, I was pleasantly surprised as far as in that nature. I thought our guys put up a heck of a fight, but you run into the buzzsaw that is LSU and what they've been doing. I think they outscored SEC opponents 35-5 or something like that. Just absolutely ridiculous. So I mean, you can't really. Can't really fault, like I said, South Carolina, I think, just running out of pitching Saturday. They had a freshman throwing and had good stuff, but just can't match up. I think, God, what's his name? The shortstop for LSU, Bregman or something, let off the game with a home run. I was just like, well, better luck next time. But with that being said, obviously, the SEC tournament led into what happened Monday, which was the NCAA baseball selection show. South Carolina, obviously, on the edge of their seat, looking to see where and if they would be seeded. When it came down to it, South Carolina was one of the first 4 out and just missed the postseason tournament. Second time in 3 years that has happened. I believe the stat that I read was 1998 to 2012. South Carolina missed the postseason tournament a combined time of or I think they didn't miss the tournament at all. They didn't miss the regionals at
Yeah,
all.
that sounds more right.
Yeah. And from 2013 to now, South Carolina has missed it, I believe, twice or 3 times maybe.
It's twice.
Either way, twice. Okay, they've missed it twice. So with that being said, obviously kind of a gut punch. I know I was watching the selection show live. Tyler, what was kind of your reaction, kind of your instant reaction to, finding out, for sure that South Carolina wasn't going to be playing baseball in the postseason?
It's really sad because we're used to such a high standard. I know you wanted to talk about that later. But it's ultimately what we deserved, because losing 8 series in a row, I don't think you should be playing postseason in any sport. If you lose 8 basketball games in a row, you're not making the tournament. I don't care what team you are. If you lose 8 football games, you're certainly not doing anything. So I think it's what we deserved, but we ended up being the first 4 out. We were the highest RPI team not to make it in the tournament, but like everyone has seen, those 8 series losses was all the committee needed.
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely 100% with you. I mean, I think the run in Hoover was, like I said, I think our guys battled, and it was great to see them. When a team could have folded, I mean, they definitely made a push, but I think the committee, and I actually heard that this is what the committee was talking about. They just came down to the fact that, South Carolina didn't win series. I mean, you lose 8 series in a row. You don't really deserve to get in. I don't think there's many people around around the South Carolina baseball camp that would tell you otherwise, really, truly in their hearts to believe that South Carolina deserved to get in. So it didn't surprise me at all, but it was one of those things where you kind of know what you deserve and you know what's coming, but you're watching and you don't really believe it. You don't want to believe it. Yeah, and you can't really believe it. It's just to see South Carolina get left out was just, a gut punch for sure. I mean, so I definitely think, with that being said, obviously the talk of the town now, and, I think what's on everybody's mind is what's the future and what's the status of Chad Holbrook. Obviously, there's been a lot of discussion about that throughout this entire baseball season. But now with the season officially come to an end, in the position of, definitely being on the hot seat. I know that he had talked about him and himself and Ray Tanner normally have a end of season meeting, which is a pretty standard thing amongst any athletic, coach and, athletic director. Ray Tanner is actually in Destin for the SEC spring meetings, which we'll get into in a little bit. So we probably won't have any word on Chad Holbrook and real solid word on his future until the end of the week. But Tyler, kind of, obviously there's been a lot of hot takes on Chad Holbrook. I've had mixed emotions on him as well. I'll let you go first, though. Just an initial reaction. What's kind of your feelings on Chad Holbrook and where he stands with the South Carolina baseball program?
I think they've changed a little bit since last week because of how he played in Hoover, because it really did look like a different team. It looked like he had kind of gotten a fire underneath them, brought them together a little bit. I think they all kind of came together because they like him so much. They didn't want to see him go 2 and out. And if he went 2 and out, he was definitely losing his job. Well, he can't go 2 and out, but if they would have lost the first game, he would have been done. But I think my opinion's changed. I think he sticks around, and I think there are staff changes because I've seen a lot of people say we need just a new staff completely. I'd be in support of that. Give him another chance because I think there's some talent that he can deal with next year. He's a great recruiter, great person. He's good for the community. And I don't think there's anyone out there that is up to the standards of coaching South Carolina baseball that's available.
Right. Yeah. And I've been kind of mixed on this as well. But I have to say that, first addressing this, the kind of the stigma or the situation, if we say that nobody's really out there, I will at least admit, I'll admit this, that I'm not exactly up to tune with the college baseball coaches out there that could be on the move, that are maybe in jobs right now. I mean, it's really tough to tell. It's not like football where we know all these coaches and we know who's out there and stuff like that. So I think South Carolina, if they were to let Chad Holbrook go, they could pull a name from somewhere. I think they could pull almost any name they wanted. With that being said, like I said, I agree with you that I think Chad Holbrook is going to come back next year. I do believe that Ray Tanner is going to keep him on. I'm just really – I don't like the direction the program's going. I don't like the trend that I'm seeing. You miss miss the postseason for a second time in 3 years at a program like South Carolina, where you have the facilities, you have the talent, you have the fan support, you have the fan involvement, you have all that you need at your fingertips, and to miss, not just to get there and lose, but to miss the postseason entirely is absolutely unacceptable. I mean, I've given Chad Holbrook the benefit of the doubt. I supported him in a lot of his controversial decisions, but I think the thing that really irked me the most about this season was that Carolina found ways to lose ball games, and they lost them late. I read a stat. They lost 16 of their 25 losses were by 1 or 2 runs. So, I mean,
it was 10 by 1 run because I did it yesterday to put in the article. It blew me away. It was higher than I thought last week.
10 by 1 run.
7.
Yeah, 10 by 1 run. Another 6 by two runs. So 16 out of 25 by 1 or 2 runs. And then some just embarrassing losses, which I think we forget about. Well, not really forget about, but we try to forget about, in which South Carolina didn't show up to play. I mean, granted, yes, LSU was on fire, but
there were midweek games too that we just didn't show up, didn't look good, didn't play well. That hurt your bullpen going into the weekend.
Right. North Carolina twice. There's definitely been a lot. There are a lot of reasons to be critical of Chad Holbrook. But I think I would be in support of a coaching change. I think if the right person is there, and if Chad Holbrook stays on the staff, it's going to be completely 100% because he has a relationship with Ray Tanner. And I 100% understand that because, obviously Ray Tanner, what he's going to think about is how is this firing going to help or impact not only Chad Holbrook, but I'm sure he's friends with his wife, his family, everything. But I'm hoping what Ray Tanner thinks about and puts that aside is that his job is to employ a man that's going to help South Carolina baseball win baseball games. And at this point, Chad Holbrook is not doing that. And one thing I was going to talk about, obviously, was kind of what the benchmark at South Carolina baseball should be. You cannot miss the postseason, just ever. I don't care what, if you're the 4 seed in a regional, whatever, you cannot miss the postseason. You can't lose 8 series in a row. And actually, that's getting back to my point. So I kind of got off a track. So with losing those 8 series in a row, the thing that irked me the most, we were losing games, what I felt like, in a similar manner every time. And Chad Holbrook kept doing the same thing every single weekend. It blows my mind. Like, you have to change something up. So with that being said, I don't doubt that Chad Holbrook is a capable baseball coach. I don't doubt that he could coach anywhere else and be really successful. But I don't know that he's the right guy for the South Carolina job that comes with the type of pressure and comes with the type of expectations that South Carolina has. Some people I've seen on social media, that I will not name, reporters in the media and stuff, that obviously get on Twitter and think that the expectations are unrealistic. The expectations are, maybe more than what we should be asking for. I completely do not want to listen to that. I think South Carolina, there's a precedent, there's a standard, and I don't think Chad Holbrook has met up with it. Now, with that being said, I think he's coming back. I really do. I think they're going to give him the benefit of the doubt with all the injuries, with everything that happened. Obviously, Schmidt was hurt. I mean, everybody was hurt, it seemed like, this year. But it's not going to get any easier. I don't see, I'm not the kind of fan or the kind of person who's going to say, you have to get to Omaha every year. That's the expectation. But South Carolina baseball cannot miss the postseason. It just cannot. It's unacceptable. It's to me, it is a fireable offense. Missing the postseason at South Carolina is a fireable offense. So it'll be really interesting to see what Ray Tanner does. If they do, I think they have to shake up something. You can't just go into. Yeah, you can't go into 2018 with the exact same staff. Like I said, it's, insanity. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's how I felt watching South Carolina baseball this year with the decisions Chad Holbrook was making, whether it is to bunt, whether it is to put this pitcher in the 8th inning, whether it is to put this guy in the 9th, whether it is to make this change, whether it is to pull your 4-hitter and have somebody bunt for him. As we know very well, he was apt to do that. You have to make some sort of change, because I think just throwing the same coaching staff out there, it's not going to sit very well with South Carolina baseball fans. And, South Carolina baseball fans are not just like any other fans or like, casual fans that don't really care. I mean, I was actually listening to 107.5 the game today. Just kind of, I wanted to hear kind of what the reactions would be. They were pretty strong. There's some pretty upset people out there. So, yeah, with that being said, I mean, I'm out on the Chad Holbrook camp. I don't dislike him. I don't really dislike him. I think he's just not the right guy for the job. I think the pressure's too much for him. If he came back, like I said, I'm going to support. I'm not going to, I'm going to be 100% supportive of Chad Holbrook, but going into next year, it's kind of one of those things. I mean, and it's not going to get any easier next year. I mean, South Carolina's losing, a lot of talent that's including, Clark Schmidt, Will Crow, Tyler Johnson, Reed Scott, Josh Reagan, Coley Bowers, all gone.
Yeah.
I mean, so you think about that contingent of guys, all those guys. I mean, you've got Adam Hill coming back, the only guy from the rotation coming back. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm really intrigued to see what Ray Tanner's going to do with this and see, how much his relationship with Chad Holbrook is going to play into this. So, with that being said, Tyler, anything that, what do you think as far as the sort of the direction of Gamecock baseball? And do you think the benchmark that I think I've said is pretty accurate? I mean, I think postseason for South Carolina in baseball has to be a given. I know that sounds like a spoiled fan type deal, but not when you have the tradition and the facilities and the talent that South Carolina has year in and year out.
I think I'm about as realistic as it gets, and I think that it's realistic to say that that South Carolina should be hosting a regional every year, not a super, but just hosting a regional, be in the top 24. I guess that is. What is that right? How many teams?
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%.
You should be in the top 25. Let's just say that. You should be in the top 25 every single year based on what has been accomplished here, your coaching staff, your facilities, how much talent is in the state of South Carolina high school-wise. I think that's something that not a lot of people think about. South Carolina has so much talent in high school. It's unreal. And then you have Georgia and North Carolina bordering. There's no excuse to not be in the postseason or hosting a regional at that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like I said, you were saying it too. You get the best players every year. I mean, that's the one thing I'll say in support of Chad Holbrook. He is a great recruiter. He really is a great recruiter, but you got to be a good coach as well.
Yep.
You got to be able to coach guys up. Those teams that South Carolina had that won the College World Series year in and year out, they weren't the best team on the field. They were the best coach team on the field.
Yeah, absolutely.
They weren't the most
scrappy as all hell.
They weren't always the most talented team on the field, but they were damn sure the best coach team on the field. That's without a doubt. So
that UCLA team we played was unreal. To beat Garrett Cole and Trevor Bauer it's crazy.
Yeah, with all due respect, like I said, those guys had talent, but they were also really well coached. And like I said, I think Chad Holbrook's a really good baseball coach. I think he can be a very capable baseball coach maybe elsewhere, but it definitely seems like when it comes to crunch time and big decisions need to be made, sometimes Chad Holbrook pisses down his leg. That's kind of a thing we used to say when I played baseball. He pisses down his leg in the big moments. It really seems like it.
Did you see after the Kentucky game when we won, you just saw him like huge sigh of relief. Like, he knows, puts his heads in his hands and just like, that said a lot because I think he knew that saved his job right there.
He knows what's on the line. Without a doubt. And I think Chad Holbrook understands. You listen to any of his comments. He understands the pressure. He knows South Carolina fans want him gone. So like I said, I like Chad Holbrook as a everything I've seen as far as interviews and he's a good guy. He's a good dude. He's like I said, he's obviously a good baseball coach. He was on those national championship teams.
And at North Carolina.
And at North Carolina. He's a good coach, but maybe he's a better assistant coach where he doesn't have to make those big decisions. Ray Tanner holding his hand throughout the process. Like I said, there's a lot of things that are forgivable. There are things that are forgivable. When you first when he first took over, I think it was 2013, and South Carolina made 9 errors and lost UNC in the Super Regionals. I can forgive that. When South Carolina loses to Oklahoma State in the Super Regionals, I can forgive that. Even when South Carolina misses the postseason the first time, I can forgive that. You lose a lot of talent, whatever. Bad years happen to every team. But he missed the postseason again with this team that came into this year top 5 preseason ranked.
I wrote in my preview that worst case scenario, this team hosts a super regional.
That's
how I felt. That's really
absolutely. If you'd have told me before the season South Carolina wouldn't even make the postseason, I thought I'd called you crazy.
Yeah, did you see my tweet? I was like, imagine being told at the beginning of the year that the South Carolina basketball and football would make the postseason, but baseball wouldn't. I would have told you you're a fucking loser. And there's no way.
I did see that. Imagine being told that not only would they make the postseason, but that football would make a bowl game and the basketball team make the Final Four.
Before South Carolina baseball, 4 in the country.
Right.
Just even
right.
As a 4 seed, I would have
called you. I just take all your money to Vegas. You're smarter than I am.
Yep.
Yeah. So and just like another point on Chad Holbrook, like I was saying, top 5 preseason. You have the best pitching staff in the country.
On paper, at least.
On paper, one of the best in the country, without a doubt, with Schmidt, Crow, and Hill. And even bigger picture than that, you inherit a program that has won 2 College World Series and went to a 3rd and almost won that one
in this decade.
It's
7 years.
You know what I was looking at. I was just reading it today and everything. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the fall of South Carolina football. It turned so fast. It turned so fast. Yeah. It's hard to really believe. So, with that being said, like I said, we're probably not going to know too much because Ray Tanner is down in SEC spring meetings. He was also Monday. He was in wherever. I'm not sure where they are, but he's part of the committee that helps pick the regional host, super regional, all that stuff. He's on that committee. So, it's got to be gut wrenching for him too to watch it because that South Carolina baseball program is like his baby. He built it. Yeah. He built it. So. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, we'll be keeping up with all of it, kind of what happens in the next couple of days, weeks, however long it takes. We'll be looking into that. So, love to hear your comments, thoughts. Obviously, tweet us and everything on that. Moving forward into a little football talk in the end of May, beginning of June, with some comments from Mr. Jake Bentley. I know that, Tyler, you said you haven't had a chance to listen, maybe by choice.
No, I had a chance, and
you had a chance. Okay. So, obviously, as we all know, South Carolina was victim to Clemson. I was in Clemson. I'll probably never go back. 56-7 loss they suffered, and as the old ball coach used to say, this is talking season. So. Jake Bentley, I guess, was asked about, the rivalry and sort of, what it meant and kind of the chip on their shoulder. And I'll give you the quote, Tyler. He said, quote, "We just didn't play well that week. We felt we got outworked. So our big thing is never again will we be outworked. Never again will we be outcompeted in a game like that. It all stems from that game because at the end of the game, everyone knew that they weren't that much better than us or better than us at all. It really just lit a fire in everybody." Yeah. It really just lit a fire in everybody. Since that week, everybody has worked harder and wanted it more.
Oh, my God.
So, obviously, as we all can imagine, Clemson Twitter went to work.
I did see all that.
Yeah, I remember I was on Twitter and I was like, what in the world happened? I'm like, what did
Jake
Bentley say?
Tweeting Keyshawn Nixon. I was like, what? This is out of hand. You just got drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. You're tweeting our JUCO transfer cornerback. So anyways, those comments, Tyler, your initial reaction, the Jake Bentley comments. That's absurd. Clemson, as much as I hate them, that's one of the best football teams we've seen in a long time. That is completely absurd.
Yeah, I had mixed reaction. I had a mixed reaction on it, and I'll tell you my kind of 2 reactions I had on it. One, well, I guess there were a lot of reactions because I was thinking, why are you saying this? Like, what made you bring this up? Then again, I'm like, he's your quarterback. He's your leader. What are you expecting to say?
No, I agree with that. You're supposed to feel that way, but you're not supposed to portray it as that's how you honestly feel. There's no way you honestly feel that way, but I think you should be confident. But there's saying that that Clemson wasn't more talented than you.
All right. I agree.
I agree.
I tell you what I thought was really funny, though. It was like after because the interview seemed to come out like noon or something. It was later that day, and Jake Bentley just tweeted the peace fingers emoji. And I go to the tweet, and the first tweet back is, "Are you drunk?" I was like, maybe, who knows? Like, it is the off season. But I mean, obviously, man, you give Clemson Twitter an inch, they're going to take a freaking mile.
As they
I didn't even try to get into it because I'm like, dude, we're not going to remember some comment made in May. Like, it's not like,
unfortunately, they might. They might,
but it's not going to help you win a football game. It's just like coach speak. I mean, it's just, what do you expect the kid to see? He's a 18-year-old kid, man. I mean, come on. He's, hey, I'd rather him say that, and as him being my quarterback, I'd rather him say that and be like, well, Clemson's just better than us, and I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you put an 18-year-old in a corner, he's going to say something kind of crazy. I don't know what to tell you. So, but obviously, like I said, Clemson Twitter, they ran off with it. It took fire. I mean, I saw tweets from everybody. Just, I don't know what game Jake Bentley was watching. And then I saw Xavier Thomas tweet, and I was like, don't you even start. I might have come at you, sir. But anyways, kind of some funny, just something to kill the time as far as with football talk. Also, as I was mentioning, the SEC winter meetings are going on this week. Will Muschamp actually spoke today. I mean, some of the big issues I know they're talking about as far as they're kind of talking about a new grad transfer rule right now to where a kid can transfer from school to school within the SEC. Now, obviously, this is not a big, so it's almost what it's almost going to give the SEC if it were to go through is a free agent type feel. So if you graduate early, you're allowed to leave and transfer anywhere. Now it's obviously they have the grad transfer thing now where you can graduate and transfer outside the conference, but they want to do it now in the conference. Tyler, you got any take on that, or kind of how you think that would impact the conference at all? Or
I don't think it impacts the conference that much. Not as much as it does with basketball. Basketball, it's a huge deal because so many kids transfer every year. I mean, who recently has been a good grad transfer besides Russell Wilson?
Yeah, I mean, nobody that big. I mean, the only one I can think is I remember last year when the Alabama defensive back transferred from Alabama, and he actually went to Georgia. And I don't think it was a grad transfer situation. It was kind of a different situation where he got released from his scholarship or something, and he talked about how poorly he was treated by Nick Saban. And kind of a weird deal.
See, if it's something like that, I agree with it, but I don't think you should do it like in basketball, just to your advantage where you go play another year for someone else.
Yeah, I'm going to side with the player on this. I just kind of think, if you get a scholarship to go play and your responsibility to that scholarship and to that school is you need to fulfill your academic requirement to get your diploma, get your degree. So I'll tell you, I don't think a kid should be penalized for graduating early if he wants to go somewhere else. I think it's going to make – the only thing that would scare me about it is that it's going to create this crazy frenzy as far as coaches recruiting guys that are juniors and who just, graduated early, stuff like that. But, I mean, I side with the player on that. So, going to be an interesting thing that they'll be talking about all week, obviously, at SEC spring meetings. I don't expect a resolution on that very soon. Also, one thing, Will Muschamp was asked about this, and this has been something that's been thrown around, Tyler. I don't think we've really touched on about Auburn moving to the SEC East because geographically it makes sense. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this at all.
But he made a good
really
point.
Don't need to make this.
He said that they're just trying to protect rivalries, which I'm sure is true because, I mean, they really are geographically in the East, but, I mean, I'm sure they're only saying that because they know how much shit is talked about the SEC East. And I think it would help ultimately balance out a little bit because I think Auburn would probably win a lot. But I don't think they
definitely don't. I don't want to have to play them every year. I can tell you that much. Yeah, I think somebody was saying they're proposing moving Vandy and Missouri to the west and Auburn and Alabama to the east. I was like, God, no.
No, you can keep Alabama.
God, no. Please, no.
we would never win a damn football game again.
No thanks. No thanks. But yeah, so
Yeah,
anyways,
that's something that'll never get done.
you know, some really obviously exciting topics going on at SEC spring meetings, if you will. One of the big ones that I want to see get some traction is it has been talked about, and it's actually been happening at some of the schools around the country. Alcohol sales at college football games. Saw some comments Greg Sankey had on this today where he had mentioned that, it was something they've been talking about for a couple of years, and, it's kind of always been on the back burner. Obviously, we've had stuff like satellite camps and transfer rules and conference expansion. Now I think everything's kind of slowed down. I'm hoping they'll look into this a little bit. Tyler, you're a student at South Carolina. Are you 21 yet?
Yeah, I'm 21.
You're 21. Okay, so you absolutely can relate to this. And you're 21. You're a student. Do you think it would benefit? Do you think it would help or hurt game day experience, not just in South Carolina, but college football as a whole, to have alcohol sales? Let's just say, for example, beer and wine.
Oh man, I don't know. I think it would hurt my experience because I hate drunk people that can't handle their alcohol, and I know it would only get worse inside the game because I want to drink before the game and sober up during the game so I can leave when we go home. Not drink more when we get to the football game because I want to watch the football game. Because me and you, we just want all the technical stuff. Like, I want to know every single play. I don't want to be continuously getting hammered during the game. But I think outside of the student section, the old people maybe, yeah. But I think it would also be a lot of fake IDs in the student section for sure.
Oh yeah, I think the student section would be tough. That's the one thing I was thinking about when I read about that today. I'm like, it's a good idea in principle, but man, like you'd really have to deal with just some.
Now baseball games,
you'd have to really police it.
I'm completely for it at baseball and basketball games. I would.
Oh yeah, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more of a relaxed environment too.
But
so
I think
it's not
football,
as
you would see a huge increase in fights and all kinds of shit.
See, you would think that. I actually read, Texas is one school to implement it. West Virginia was another. I think, I'm not sure. Those are the main two, though. West Virginia and Texas. Minnesota, actually, that was the other school I was thinking of. They implemented it as well. They actually said the number of alcohol-related incidents went down.
Huh.
So, the one thing I'll say, the reason why I think that is, I just feel like when you're at the tailgate, there is so much pressure to get, like, shit-faced.
This is
really,
true.
Really.
You're
true. Like, okay, you can't drink the entire game. And then when the people do drink in the game, they're bringing in mini bottles or flasks. So, I mean, I guess what's worse, drinking whiskey the entire game or drinking beer? So, I see it on both sides.
Anywhere near a football stadium.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was funny. My Twitter account a couple years ago, I was like, I don't know, I was really pumped for the season for some reason, or not for some reason, but I was really pumped for the season. It was before the 2013 season. I changed my Twitter bio. It just read whiskey bent and stadium bound.
I don't have a whiskey problem. I'm saying
yeah.
I don't think whiskey should be sold inside of a football game. That would be horrendous.
Oh no. I don't think they'll ever do liquor sales inside of obviously besides horrendous. Like premium suites and stuff like that. They'll never do liquor sales. But I'm saying people sneak in mini bottles. That's like a common thing.
Every time I go to Clemson, we would sneak into the student section. And I would get hit in the head with a mini bottle every single time because people just drink them and throw them down the hill.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that it would help in that sense. Is where it's like, what would you rather people do? Sneak in mini bottles and drink liquor whole game, or stop drinking liquor maybe and drink beer during the game? I mean, I could see it both ways. Do you want your fans whiskey drunk or beer drunk? What's worse? We obviously know the answer to that question.
Very true.
So I'm for it. I support it.
You just changed my opinion. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm for it and support it. I know the prices would be absolutely outrageous though. So
outrageous.
I'm kind of like you though, Tyler. I'm not even, when I get in the stadium, I'm not worried about trying to go get some concessions.
Right. Literally the only thing I'm worried about inside a game is watching the football game and going fucking nuts.
And there's nothing worse than going to get concessions during a football game. It is.
I don't even go to this. I can't even do it because I know it's going to be hell, and I know it's.
I'll go at halftime. I'm not trying to miss a whole quarter though, getting some popcorn. Like I'm just not doing it. It's just ridiculous. So with that being said, yes, we say yes to alcohol at South Carolina football games. Get it done. Get it done. Much.
I want the other two sports too. You can't leave them.
All of them.
I want all of them.
Yes. Yes, I agree. Absolutely. So with that being said, we're actually going to move to a new segment of the show. If anybody that follows us on any social media or anything, or myself, we're open up to questions. So anytime you have any questions, hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Armchair All Americans in the comments. Even I don't care where you want to hit us up. We're going to be taking questions, answering you guys' questions on the show. We had a couple come today from actually some writers from Armchair All American. First, Stephen Cabrera, who's a writer for the Florida Gators. Tyler's question: what's the one key for South Carolina to be on top of the SEC this football season?
Oh man, all dependent on the defense, in my opinion, because I saw Will Muschamp talked about RPOs today. Every time someone ran an RPO against us last year, our team speed was completely garbage, and they could not adjust whatsoever to RPOs. So stopping runs and just having a better secondary at all. Our depth is going to show a lot in our linebackers, but yeah, the defense will 100% be dependent on whether we're a good football team or not.
Yeah, didn't he say we had 3 linebackers practicing this spring? Like we had no depth.
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree. He is very, very worried about it, but he says the other spots are okay. Because I remember last year he's like, we have no linebackers and we have no secondary, and I'm very worried about it. And we saw it get exposed all year.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was going to say, I really trust Muschamp because he pretty much tells it like it is, because he said last year that our corners couldn't cover, and I'll be damned if first half of the season we couldn't cover anybody. Yep. So he knows what he's talking about. So, yeah, I mean, obviously you've got Sky Moore back, Bryce. I think the linebackers we have are solid, but we're going to need a lot of those young guys to step up for depth-wise. I completely agree with you, though. Defense is going to be the key, I think, for South Carolina. And to me, not just defense, but the line of scrimmage, defensive line and offensive line.
Yeah.
It's going to come down. I feel like we talk about that every year. Offensive
line. Like our offensive line will improve a lot this year. I don't think it'll be good by any means, but anything's better than last year. And I think we'll see an improvement there.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got so many weapons on offense. God, give Jake Bentley 3 to 5 seconds to throw. Give Rico Dowdle, Tyson Williams, AJ Turner a crease.
That's what I'm most excited for. I wish someone would ask that. And I'm most excited for our running backs.
Hey, you're there. Ask some questions, guys. So, anyways, moving on. Sage Moody asks, the Clemson writer, a good friend of ours, how does South Carolina right the ship next year with Holbrook and the 2018 baseball team? I'll take this one first. I think we kind of addressed it a little bit. But, yeah, I think a staff shakeup is necessary. If it doesn't include completely getting rid of Chad Holbrook, shaking up, his assistants, his staff, I think that Jerry Myers has kind of seen his day in Columbia. I think it's time for him to go for sure. And then moving on to 2018, I mean, how do you reload for that? Get better players. Or not get better players, but get more good players, because you're losing a lot of them. And just, get some different assistants and do a better job coaching. I mean, I think it's all, 16 to 25 games, you lose by 1 or 2 runs. Make better late game decisions.
I think you said it perfectly.
Yeah. You got anything to add, Tyler? Nothing on that?
I mean, Jerry Myers was such a great coach for a long time, but we saw a lot of our pitching, just the decisions that they made. I don't think it was a problem with our pitchers being bad. I think it was putting them in the wrong situations. So whoever that falls on needs to hit the road.
Absolutely. And last question comes from another Clemson writer.
My personal favorite question.
Connor Biedenbaugh. His question simply, he tweeted to us and asked, is Joe Flacco an elite quarterback? I'm going to answer this one first. My roommate is actually a Baltimore native and a diehard Ravens fan, and he will tell you with all certainty and has convinced me a resounding no.
Yeah, my answer was profanity laced, but I'll just say no as well.
A solid no. He is not.
It's a no from us.
It is a no from the Spurs Up Show. And with that, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Spurs Up Show. Again, follow us on the Armchair account. Go to Armchair All Americans. You can find all our stuff there as well. Tyler, you got any last words?
No last words.
All right. Perfect. Appreciate you guys listening. We'll catch you next time.